Social Finance Inc. is an American online personal finance company based in San Francisco. SoFi provides student loan refinancing, mortgages, personal loans, investing, and banking. Today's episode is brought to you by the SoFi Daily Podcast. 80% of New Year's resolutions fail by the second week of February. If reaching financial independence is something you're striving for in 2021, don't let your goals fall by the wayside. Listen to the SoFi Daily Podcast every weekday to keep informed and keep your financial resolutions. Search for SoFi wherever you get your podcasts. Search for SoFi, S-O-F-I, wherever you get your podcasts. That's SoFi, S-O-F-I. And make sure you're always listening to Zach Berman's Stock Tips.
To your mother, it's time for another episode of Birds with Friends. Just a trio of feathery brethren weathering any season to see the Eagles eating teams like Scrammy's top with cheese. It's Philadelphia. Bo, Sheila, and Zach kicking it cooler than three penguins till Zach runs off with his valet keys. He's a real nuanced goose. Pull up a branch, get loose. It's time for some juice on some Birds with Friends. The early bird gets the worm, but prefers getting turned like a turn on some Birds with Friends. Bo, Sheila, and Zach coming at you with stats and things flapping their wings on Birds with Friends.
We got time for a couple more, so we'll go to Bo and then Jamie and then Nick. You good, Bo? All right, let's go to Jamie first then.
Doug, wow,
Can you hear me?
Oh, go ahead.
Now?
You're good now.
You can't hear me?
Yes, you can. We can.
Oh, sorry. Doug, I'm curious. A bit of a wistful intro to this episode of Birds with Friends. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second consecutive evening record on YouTube of Birds with Friends. Bo Wolf, Sheila Kapadia, Zach Berman, and Marissa Morris with her gigantic mug here to bring you an emergency podcast following the Eagles moving on, parting ways amicably, at least as they say, with Doug Pederson, the man who delivered the first Super Bowl in franchise history, is no longer the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. Jeffrey Lurie saying that it's time to move on. He didn't believe in the future that Doug Pederson presented, the plan. And so now it is time for a rebuild. It is time for Howie Roseman to get to hire his third head coach. It's time for the Eagles to talk about some of the assets they've got. It's time to ask Sheila Kapadia how he's doing.
Well, I'm glad we got this in on time because your final question to Jeffrey Lurie, I thought he might still be answering that bad boy here leading up to kickoff in the national championship
Great hospitals,
game.
baby.
I mean, he really took that as a chance to speak to the world about come coach the Philadelphia Eagles, the greatest job in America. And so it was a wild day. You know, we were here last night. These are back-to-back live pods. We all said at the time we felt like this was heading in a certain direction. I don't know that I thought it would happen this quickly and that we would talk to the owner for a half hour or however long it was. So a new era all of a sudden. I mean, months of speculation about what might happen, what could happen, what we think should happen. And now at least a little bit of resolution here. I know that has to make Zach Berman just very excited for an exciting offseason.
Sure. I mean, I don't want to say I'm excited that someone lost his job, right? Like that, there's no enjoyment you take out of that. But as far as interest from readers, as far as like storylines, these next few months are going to be fascinating. And going into next season, as opposed to it being somewhat stale, which I think there was the possibility of that happening if they were going to run it back with the same coaching staff, the same core of players, then I think that this at least provides a different juice around the team, a different. It's a sense of renewal, and I'm very curious to see which direction they go.
So obviously we've got a lot to talk about. We're all on Jeffrey Lurie's Zoom video conference call today. All three of us got a question in. Unfortunately, Jimmy Kempsey getting the cold shoulder. Felt a little bad for him.
Oh, I shouldn't have stolen. See, I always want to tell
what
them.
happened.
Like,
yeah,
I don't want
you
to
drop
steal
in.
one.
Yeah.
I don't tell them to call on me. No, I would prefer that they would call on the people who are there every day. But like, I don't know. Is that
You got to
something I
put your
should
hand
tell
up
them?
too. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not your fault. Yeah.
Listen, that's on them. That's not on me. They should have got to Jimmy Kempski.
That's exactly what I think Jeffrey Lurie would say about Howie Roseman. It's on everybody else.
You. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I thought they were going to. Anyway, we've got a lot to talk about, obviously, because as much as I think you can sell that this is, a renewal and there is maybe some juice around this team, I thought that today's talking points from Jeffrey Lurie were pretty underwhelming, and we can sort of go through the topics. But if I was an Eagles fan watching that, I would say that I feel less confident about the future of the franchise than I did yesterday.
Now, I had a different read than you did. And again, I'm not putting every answer together, right? Like, I can understand why the Howie Roseman answers, it would not convince people. But I thought Jeffrey actually showed a sense of awareness about where they are right now. And really, that seemed to be the crux of the issue here, was that he said, like, they need to retool. They're thinking 2-3 years out. Doug Pederson's nature was to think about, this season. And I know that doesn't get exciting for fans to say rebuild, but it does seem like, from Jeffrey Lurie's perspective, organizationally, they do need to take a step back. They need to divorce themselves from this core, and they need more picks. They need better picks, obviously. But I thought that was the big takeaway, that he viewed this as close to a rebuilding job as you can have in the NFL.
But it's the NFL. This is not this is not the NBA, you know. And so I know that was obviously his talking point coming in, and they don't have an avenue to like this grand future that he was talking about. They don't have flexibility. They can't just, add a bunch of young players. They don't have a bunch of assets to get draft picks. I mean, Carson Wentz might be one of those, but like, is that, I mean, this isn't like a 3-year plan. Certainly you would say, all right, by 2022, we're right back in there competing for the NFC East. And look at the NFC East. I mean, they could win the NFC East next year. So I had a hard time really, totally buying that explanation. He did use words like transition and retooling, which I thought was interesting, because you usually would not hear, I feel like you don't hear him talk like that. So I don't know if that was a strategy or what they actually think, because it's just year after year. We have to get younger. We have to do this. And I thought, the number one takeaway for me, and I know one that our viewers would probably want to get to, is the Howie Roseman stuff. I mean, this is, I'll throw out a few theories here. You guys let me know what you think about those and whether you have another one. But basically,
let me quickly say before we get to the theories on this topic, just, you said it. This we need to get younger. We need to get younger. We need to divorce from the Super Bowl core talking point. It drives me insane, because they've been saying it for 4 years. As I wrote last week, they say it every offseason. We have been saying it. And the reason they are in such bad shape now is because they haven't been listening and following through on their own talking points. So, why is it that, and we can get to the Howie Roseman thing, but why is it that the infrastructure that allowed this to happen every year to continue pushing the bill down the road gets to now do the rebuild? It doesn't make any sense, and it's infuriating. But
I think that's separate as far as who gets to do it, is separate from the owner acknowledging it and to the point that it seemed to be the central issue, right? Like, oftentimes when a coach is dismissed, you hear them say in so many words that we are a better team than the way, they performed, that they underperformed. We need a different voice here. You very seldom hear an owner come out and say, this coach wants to win and we need to take a step back. True. Right. So that's why my takeaway was this sense of awareness that you don't usually see in these situations. It runs so counter to every talking point. Tell them that we go and try to win it every year and that kind of thing. This was saying the opposite. This was saying we need someone who's not thinking about his survival next year. We need someone who's thinking about 2-3 years down the line.
And you do wonder how much of that is just the messaging of trying to,
Maybe so.
make it sound like they still love Doug, and they part on good ways. But sorry, Sheila, I cut you off. Give us your
but
theory.
I'll just jump in there. The premise that Jeffrey described would be accurate. That next season would be all about Doug's job performance, right? Like, is Doug going to keep his job? And that would hover over a season that they viewed as a transition year. Doug's clearly not viewing that as a transition year. And Jeffrey implied that in Doug's decisions, those were going to factor into them.
I mean, the other thing with this too is that, they act like they know when the window is or when the great year is going to come. I mean, haven't they learned they don't know that? I remember
Exactly.
2017,
Amen.
people inside the building thought, they thought 8 or 9 wins was going to be a nice year in the right direction.
To win the division.
I don't know if any of them ever said that on the record, but that is what their thought was. And then they go,
oh, they said that on the record. Yeah. Jeffrey
did say that on the record. Okay. Yeah.
This is year 2 of this process. Yeah.
Right. So you don't know when it's all going to happen. You don't know when you're going to get that great injury luck. You don't know when you're going to get this great turnover luck. You don't know when the division's going to be as bad as it was this year. I mean, can you imagine if they had a solid team this year? They could have been competing for the number 1 seed. And then all of a sudden you got this huge edge on the competition, and you might not be a great team, but guess what? You have this big edge. So, some of that, they talk so much about windows, and we thought this was our window and that was our window, and that's why we did it. And now we don't have a window, and now the window is closed. Like, I don't know. I don't just do your best to build the best team that gives you a chance to win and get the right people and go from there and then see what happens. Like, you don't need to be, obviously you need to do long-term planning and salary cap and all that, but sometimes I don't know if they get carried away with it or these are just talking points here. And so
I think that's very well said.
There were many, I know number 1 here on my list, I had a Howie Roseman question. I didn't get to it because other people had already asked it. Zach led off the press conference with a very good Howie Roseman question. Somebody else followed up. I mean, this is, we hear the viewers and the readers and the fans, and then just from doing our own, like, this is what people want to know about is how does he sort of skirt responsibility for 3 years of mediocre play when you look at the state of the roster. And it was alarming. I mean, it was alarming the way Jeffrey Lurie answered those questions. It wasn't, Howie has made some mistakes. We've talked about it. I've held him accountable. We feel like we have better processes in place that, these types of things. Like, he wouldn't even name him by name, basically. I mean, he was saying football operations.
But he named a bunch of other future general managers.
He said we got 5 general managers in the building right now. And so there was nothing in that press conference that said, like, Jeffrey Lurie views any of this as an issue, as a Howie Roseman problem. I mean, there's no other way to say it. He
Were
did
you
not
surprised? I guess, do you think he was surprised by how big a part of that press conference Howie was?
No, I don't think so. I
mean,
he shouldn't have been. Yeah.
If he was surprised by that, then that would be a terrible job by everybody getting him prepared for the press conference.
Okay. All right. So here are some theories, and I want to know what you think about these and whether I just thought about these, 20 seconds ago. So there very well could be ones that I didn't think of. So theory number 1 is that, Jeffrey Lurie stands up for Howie Roseman because Howie Roseman takes the owner's input. He's not a GM that says, I'm a football guy, you are the owner, stay out of this. He is a general manager that says, hey, Jeffrey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this player? You think we should do this, that kind of thing. And it is sort of this collaborative, owner inclusive type process. And so Lurie likes that. I mean, he grew up a sports fan. Like, he became an owner because he thinks this is really fun, which, more power to him. That's great. I think it would be really fun too.
It's bad for the fans, but if I was an owner, like, you better believe I'm going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be in there. Here's my draft board. So that's theory number 1. And that's why Howie's stuck around so long. And that's why he's not going to throw him under the bus, because maybe he's saying, well, I've been part of some of these decisions too. And so I'm not just going to rip Howie for it. So that's theory number 1. Theory number 2 is Howie hasn't been that bad, and he's got the notes and he's looked at the decisions. and Howie has been on this side, but I think this one, I think this is a really lame explanation because Howie has to take the information to make the decision. But you know what I'm saying? Maybe, he was in a draft room, let's say, where Howie said, I really want Justin Jefferson, but 3 other people said, we want Jalen Reagor. And Howie said, all right, this is a team environment, collaborative. We're going with Jalen Reagor. Again, I do not believe this, but that is something that potentially could be voluminous, right? A voluminous notes type thing.
Bless you, Marissa.
Thank you.
Number 3, I don't know what this is. I started writing and I didn't get anything down. He doesn't think, and then I just have nothing there.
He doesn't think. That is a possible explanation.
Yeah. So I don't know what that was. All right, two theories. This is what happens when you get these impromptu pods.
I know we didn't even have a chance to write down the
quotes. That's a long way of saying why do you think he approached it this way?
I think the most likely explanation is that Howie is an extension of Jeffrey. And that doesn't mean that, they're going by Jeffrey's board, but it means that he has input. Howie understands that he answers to Jeffrey. He doesn't answer to the fans. And so, his job is to manage his relationship with Jeffrey. And obviously we have seen him outmaneuver 2 head coaches now. We've seen him outmaneuver Jeffrey Lurie's childhood best friend in Joe Banner and oust him from the organization. We can say that Howie Roseman's not good at making the ultimate decision in the draft more often than not, but you can't say he's not good at being Jeffrey Lurie's general manager, because he's been fantastic at it, because Jeffrey Lurie, not only has he kept him around, but he speaks so highly of him. So yeah, I think the read is that Howie Roseman's job is more about managing Jeffrey necessarily than any of us are willing to admit or want to admit.
I think that it's not just one thing, right? Like we try to put it in a neat box and give an explanation.
Bring a little nuance, the nuance goose.
No, I think both factors that Sheil mentioned are applicable here, and that you just touched on, Bo. First off, there is that relationship, right?
I remember what my third one is. I'll add it after you're done. Sorry. The second part, and I wrote about this on New Year's Day in a Howie column, that the view on the out now Howie should be held responsible for every decision because he has final say. But Jeffrey has more insight into what goes on, into what factors into those decisions than the general public does. For instance, if they took JJ Arcega-Whiteside, if they didn't take DK Metcalf because the medical staff gave him a failing grade, or if the coaching staff said, we want Jalen Reagor for our offense over Justin Jefferson, right? Now, in those decisions, Howie Roseman should be held responsible because it's his finger on the button. But Jeffrey Lurie has a level of insight that goes beyond what those what those outside the room know. I think the third thing, and we've discussed it on this pod, and I know you guys have kind of rolled your eyes at it, but I do think it's the case that Jeffrey views that job differently than we view that job, or than a lot of people view that job. He doesn't view the general manager job just sitting there picking players. And he alluded to it today in terms of what he oversees and in terms of the talent that he brings in and in terms of the different facets. Now, we can argue about the execution and the state of the football operations department, whether it is as impressive as Jeffrey thinks. And I would say in recent years, it has not been. But I do think that there's a lot of components to that job that Howie does well behind the scenes, or at least satisfies Jeffrey behind the scenes in terms of thinking differently, being innovative, trying to acquire or hire different types of people, different types of perspectives. He's not closed-minded to those things. So we can say all that matters is who you pick at 21 and the wins and the losses, and your sports science department and your analytics department. All they're meant to do is to give you more wins than losses, right? They're supposed to improve your chances of winning, but and that did not happen this year. But I do think Jeffrey views that job differently than we generally view it. But I view it like that. I mean, I agree with
Yes.
you. I think you can view it like that, and like you said, still come to the same conclusions. I mean, again,
we've been
they're
over
in
this. I
terrible
think that's
cap.
an even worse read on him than
Yeah.
just the individual picks.
Yeah, they're in terrible cap space. The medical staff gets turned over every year. I don't know how much they're listening to the analytics folks with some of these decisions. Maybe there's information that I don't know about, but there's certainly also stuff we can point to and say, well, that doesn't sound like an analytically sound decision. And that could be something as simple as, re-signing some of these players who are old and looking at the history there. And so even if you're looking at Howie, and I think you're right, I think that is how he views him. And I think that's another reason why he likes him. This isn't just old school scout player picker type personnel, roster manager type general manager. This is sort of right-hand man in a Joe Bannerish type role. He understands the cap. He understands personnel. He works with our coaches. He sets the course for the franchise, but the course of the franchise is bad right now. And so I would agree with Bo that would make it even worse. I mean, you can really, a lot of the personnel evaluations, you can kind of say maybe it could just be a run of bad luck. I mean, I wouldn't say that, but certainly with draft picks and stuff. Draft picks and stuff, you could certainly say that. But anyway, so the last thing is the last theory was this. It is that this team is in such a mess cap space wise going into next year. They don't have a lot of flexibility, that Jeffrey Lurie is saying, I'm not happy with the job Harry Roseman's done, but you know what? He rebuilt it in 2016. This is a strength, as Zach has written about and talked about before, is to kind of get you out of this phase, all right, acquire some assets. Let's get rid of the bad contracts. Let's set ourselves up for 2022. And, I don't know if it's exactly like the Chip Kelly thing where it was like, all right, I'm just going to, give him all the personnel power and see what happens. But could it just be a 1 year here? We'll let him do some of this stuff. I'm overseeing it anyway. We're not going to do anything crazy. But this is actually a year where he can be an asset. And then next year, I'm going to go in a different direction.
Well, and I think, if you are going to read it that way, and it's sort of a bit of a Machiavellian thing from Jeffrey, it is important because you are setting if the incentives for a general manager who knows that he's in hot water are to forfeit the future in search of short-term goals and short-term wins. And so if you let on that you're not super happy with what Howie has done, then all of a sudden Howie is incentivized to not build for the future and commit to this long-term rebuild that Jeffrey Lurie wants to. So it is true that if that is Jeffrey Lurie's read, this would be the right thing to do, is to profess total confidence in Howie Roseman. But I just
he was so over the top with it. I mean, there was not even a hint of criticism. That's
true.
Why I thought, that's a little weird.
It's possible, but given some of
and there was pushback too, by the way, which also surprised me. Like when the draft picks were brought up specifically to him, there was pushbacks. Like, have you studied all the other teams? And
I thought that was really bad.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, part of the job is knowing who's going to go ahead of you. That's not a good example. Like, give me a break. Good. We liked CeeDee Lamb. Okay. Like,
yeah, I've never, Bo, you might want to get a little earnest read ready there, but I'll say this before you do that, is that I don't want to act like I'm, a 40-year vet, but have you ever heard an explanation for a bad draft as, well, the guys we really liked got picked?
Yeah.
I mean, just imagine if someone said that in your fantasy draft.
Actually, once before, when the Eagles drafted Marcus Smith.
Okay. All right.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Same organization, but that is the name of the game. There are, like, if you're at the 11th pick, you have to have 11 players ready, because you may like 10, but all 10 of those might go ahead of you. And he was harping on that multiple times. I found that to be.
I thought that was the worst answer, and it's spot on that Well, yeah, of course you should be able to evaluate like the 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th player better than the 21st player, right? Like
we thought Joe Burrow was going to be pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's like me saying like, I really like the Chiefs this year, right? Like, it's yeah, of course you should pick that, right? So I'm with you there. That was the worst answer of the press conference. Yeah. I thought his defense of Howie was weaker than I expected. And I thought the other parts were better than you're giving it credit for.
Well, Zach, times are tough. And worrying about your student loan payments doesn't make things any easier. That's where refinancing with Earnest could help. Earnest offers low-rate student loan refinancing, and you can check your rate risk-free in just 2 minutes. 2 minutos. With Earnest, you get radically flexible payments, and you can pick your loan term. By refinancing, you can reduce your loan term, save money, or combine multiple loans into a simple monthly payment. And if you have questions, you can even talk to a real, live human at Earnest for help. No guarantees that the live human you talk to will be named Ernest, but there is at least a chance that he or she will be named Ernest. Isn't it time you stopped feeling overwhelmed by your student debt? Earnest is offering our listeners a $100 cash bonus. Refinance your student debt at earnest.com/birds. Terms and conditions apply. Once again, you get a $100 cash bonus when you visit earnest.com/birds to refinance your student loan. Not available in all states. Terms and conditions apply. Visit earnest.com/birds for more details. Earnest student loan refinancing made by Earnest Operations, LLC, and MLS 1204917, California financing. Law license number 6054788, 303 2nd Street, Suite 401N, San Francisco, California 94107. Visit earnest.com/licenses for a full list of licenses.
I'm convinced you just made up pretty much all those numbers there at the end, but I'm going to tell you about some other numbers. This episode is brought to you by 1010. Now, you may have read about this in the New York Times or Forbes, and we're excited to tell you about it. 1010 is an exclusive collection of 10 one-of-a-kind engagement rings designed by 10 of the most distinctive designers working today. Using only diamonds responsibly sourced from Botswana, 10 design masters have each produced a uniquely beautiful commitment ring, launching exclusively on January 18th at BlueNile.com. And when they're gone, they're gone. We all know that the diamond engagement ring is iconic. It's a timeless expression of the deepest commitment between two people. And with 1010, it's been beautifully re-envisioned in the hands of 10 modern designers working exclusively with sustainably sourced diamonds. If you're making 2021 plans or looking for a unique and meaningful way to celebrate Valentine's Day, you're definitely going to want to check this out. Again, this excited limited edition collection of diamond engagement rings launches on January 18th, and you can preview it exclusively at BlueNile.com.
We've got some breaking news on the chat.
What?
Apparently, Bill Belichick will not be accepting the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the absolute bare minimum that he can do, but at least he doesn't have to get kicked out of the league.
All right. So some other things. Do you have specific topics, or can I just run through my notes? Because I thought there were some funny moments in here also.
Let's see. Yeah, I like it when it's good.
You like it when I just notes? All right. Okay. He said he said Doug Pederson did not deserve to be let go. That
this is not about deserve. Yeah. Doug Pederson does not deserve to be let go. It's about the future. It's about finding the best plan forward for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay, I thought this was funny. So he said, he was talking about the mistakes they've made over the past few years. And he said, they've made some strategic mistakes. Mostly we're all in the vein of bringing the band back together and finding a short-term edge. And so then he was recalling how those seasons went. And he goes, well, we were one Alshon reception away.
He said, I want to put it on one guy. And then he just like tosses Alshon off the top of a building.
That's my
I know this. Yeah, Zach hates this. Zach,
that's my pet peeve. Yeah, they weren't going to win. There's no guarantee they win that game, right? They would still have, I guess they would still need to score a touchdown. And then they would need to stop Drew Brees from coming down the field, right? So, so it's not as if they were all of a sudden in the championship game if Alshon catches that pass. this wasn't a game-winning shot that went out. This was a play like what 20 yards from the end zone. So yeah, I don't buy that whatsoever.
I've said it before. There are always moments in the Jeffrey Lurie press conferences where he mentions some individual by name that sort of catches you off guard. My favorite, of course, is
I know where you're going.
Jaquiz Rogers all the way back in the Dream Team. But it's funny, and there were two moments in this press conference that were like that. One was the
I know the other one,
and the other one was
this is the best part of the press conference.
This was amazing. This was the best part of the press conference.
Shill, you take it over, right? I'm sure this is in your notes.
Oh yeah, you can do it if you want. This was the best part of the press conference.
Or Bo, do you want it?
Sure. I mean, he's reflecting on always having a backup plan for your coaches. When I asked him if they were monitoring the candidates in while deciding.
Oh, that's not what I was thinking of.
Oh, this isn't mine.
Yeah, this isn't mine. Yeah,
go ahead.
He says we always have a backup plan, and then he references when they lost Frank Reich, and he says, who thought that we were going to lose Frank Reich when Josh backed out of that job. He gives Josh McDaniels a first name basis.
That was your takeaway.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, that wasn't
I think you and I are on the same wavelength here.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
All right,
I think I got
me
this.
the moment.
Hopefully I missed it. I'm excited to hear what I missed.
Yeah.
I'll read you my notes I wrote down.
Okay.
Because this was one of the all-time moments I've heard.
Nate Sudfeld.
Yes.
- unstoppable. Best
That's true.
long
That was
ball
really
on
good.
roster. OMG. Those were my.
How about this? How about a Dallas game?
Give some context.
Yeah, no.
He set the record.
So he was asked about the Week 17 game, if that factored into it. All right, and my old colleague Mike Garafolo, now at the NFL Network, asked that question. That's a huge national topic, obviously. And first off, Jeffrey made it seem as if he was detached from this decision. He's like, I heard something about how Doug wanted to give Nate Sudfeld an opportunity, as if he found out on TV when everyone else did.
As if Troy, told him around the building, hey, by the way, did you hear?
Thing. Yeah, and then he was talking about the investment that they've made in Nate Sudfeld over 3 years, starting with him being the backup in the Super Bowl. But you have to remember, Week 17 that year, he had the best completion percentage to start a career of any quarterback ever, right? So
unbelievable.
And now that is accurate. Nate Sudfeld. That is accurate. But all the passes were 3 yards. You remember that game?
He said, I just pulled up the box score.
Okay.
So no, he literally said he was unstoppable.
This was
they lost 6-0, right?
That was the part I didn't realize until.
Yeah, I remember that game very well. Yeah.
That they lost the game 6-0. He was 19 for 23, unstoppable. Threw for 134 yards.
Yes.
And we sacked 3 times. So
again, talking about him like he's the manager.
And then he talked about he talked about how they gave him the restricted free agent tender, paid $1 million, a second round tender.
Millions, he knew how much
which was
paid
accurate.
Yeah.
And then he was talking about how their plan was to play him in the preseason so much last year, and then he broke his wrist. But they still signed Josh McCown, right? They signed Josh McCown.
They have given us indication at every point that they don't believe in Nate Sudfeld. They still gave him $2 million.
So I understand there. That seemed to me deliberate to suggest that they weren't tanking. That this was a plan to get Nate Sudfeld, but that was a little overboard. And Nate Sudfeld has never been talked up more in his life than that answer there.
Unbelievable.
Some celebrity appearances in the chat. It looks like we've got the Pennsylvania Sports Writer of the Year.
Matt Gelb.
Matt Gelb dropping in and saying who would go first in a citywide draft of most dysfunctional franchise. And then we've got Dan McQuaid saying it's got to be the Phillies.
Oh,
so all the heavy hitters are out to play on the YouTube comments today.
Would you agree with that? Yeah, I think you would have to say the Phillies. Yeah. I mean, the Eagles, if the Eagles were not 3 years removed from a Super Bowl and we were just like, all right, what's going on right now? I think they're definitely right there. But
I mean, due respect here, like the Sixers had first off, they had a GM get fired because his wife started a burner account
6 months
right?
ago, maybe it would be the Sixers.
They had. Yeah, I mean, they're stabilizing now with Morey and Rivers, but when you look at like the string of weird things that happened to that organization, right? Just look at their first round picks. I don't think there's anything in the city more dysfunctional.
Yeah, I mean, the Phillies have been waiting all offseason. They see the Mets trading for Francisco Lindor, and then they make their first move, and they trade for relief pitcher the Q Shaman.
Yeah, that's not dysfunction. I mean, that's just
it's not a great message to send.
All right.
I mean, I think dysfunction is a burner account saying that the previous GM screwed up. Yeah, so that's
okay. A few other things here that stood out to me. So again, he said the reason for firing Doug is because they're going to go into this sort of, I don't know, he said transition period, but sounded like kind of a soft rebuild. And Doug, I don't know, I guess Doug couldn't handle like 1 year of, maybe not winning a Super Bowl. I don't know. It didn't make a lot of sense, but that's how he termed it in terms of they're not going to maximize 2021. But then he said,
I read that differently than you did, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we mentioned it before that Doug would have the survival instinct next year. Like his job would be on the line. He can't make these short-term decisions if his job's on. Oh, I'm sorry. He can't make these long-term decisions, and everything he was doing with his coaching staff and with his ideas for next year.
But what does that even mean? What does that even mean though? Like what, playing older guys? Like, I don't even know what that means. I mean, you give the coach the players and the coach coaches them. He's not making the personnel decisions or setting the course of the franchise.
I mean, I think a big part of all those veterans playing this year was also Doug. Doug's very loyal to his guys. And
right. They were giving him the old guys. Don't give him. Yeah, that's true. But it's like an organizational thing. Don't give him Jason Peters where he's going to play Jason Peters,
But he might want that, right?
Yeah.
He wanted Sproles back. So.
Yeah.
What's the date? What's the over under on the date when the Eagles re-sign Jason Peters?
May have already happened.
Yeah, or he's the head coach. That's thinking outside
Peters.
The box, right?
He's going to walk into he walked
Never
into
does
Doug's
a press
office.
conference.
He's going to walk into Jeffrey's office and say, "I'm the head coach now."
Exactly. He's going to make his
have to take a pay
his
cut.
center do it. I'll do every press conference for him.
Yeah. Jeffrey said other teams are raiding their organization and their front office because they're just breeding talent left and right. How long was Andrew Berry a member of the Philadelphia Eagles?
Less than a calendar year.
Okay.
Yeah, that's been a talking point now. I'm sorry, go on. I shouldn't have interrupted.
No, he had been in other organizations, was respected. He went back to an organization he had already worked for. I don't think they were like, we hated this guy a year ago, but holy cow. Yeah. Did you see what he did with the Eagles there? And Joe Douglas was with the Ravens. They are an organization that, teams do try to sort of or respect their front office. So I just thought that was so overblown. And 5 GMs in the building. Well,
how would you like to be like the sixth person in line who Jeffrey didn't mention? What a shot across the bow.
All right. So, you know what? This is a big thing we probably didn't get to yet. I did not get the sense that Jeffrey thinks Carson Wentz is going to be back on this roster.
Yeah.
If you're Carson Wentz and you're watching this press conference, you are not thinking, I'm doubling down on my property in the Philadelphia area. He's being called an asset.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was partly deliberate, though. I think he took it maybe a little too far, but I think he wants to fight against the notion that they're forcing Carson on the next coach, right?
Oh, I guess that's true.
Yeah, but I thought he's right. The owner shouldn't make that decision. When Tim asked him directly, is Carson going to be on the team in 2021? Like that's the right answer. That's up to the head coach, the GM. That was the right answer.
Decision.
Yeah. Kind of. And of course he's going to have input about whether Wentz is the quarterback. What are you talking about?
It's his $33 million. But that being said, referring to the 2 young quarterbacks as assets, right? That was an interesting answer.
And it was not he doubled down and said, like, the message is not, we've got 2 starting caliber quarterbacks that we can win with. It was, we've got 2 quarterback assets. The coach can make the decision, and then we've got another asset that we can use to like leverage for or trade value. So, which I mean,
don't rule out a Hurts trade.
We don't know that these guys. We don't think that these guys play well together. So I guess that makes sense. But coming out saying it is pretty ballsy.
Well, and that was something Howie always kind of kept in his back pocket last year was that Hurts would have value down the line for them, and we kind of questioned, are you going to get more than a second? Are you going to get more than what you paid for him? And I don't know the answer to that, but it's if they decide, if the next coach wants Carson Wentz, it's certainly not out of the question that Jalen Hurts is shopped.
Yeah, I think a lot will come down to who the next head coach is. If you have a head coach who comes in and says, you can't trade Carson Wentz, this guy's unbelievable. I think we talked about this yesterday, but this guy's unbelievable. I want to coach him. We can get this thing right. That's in the best interest of the organization, is to have that happen, given the finances that are at stake here. And so that is a possibility, but man, it definitely is still a possibility. I don't think this means, I thought there was a take out there that the Eagles are now choosing Carson Wentz over Doug Pederson. I don't think that's my takeaway at all. I think they very well could still trade Carson Wentz, explore Carson Wentz trades, whatever you want to say, regardless of who that head coach is.
So I'll read you the statement from Bill Belichick. Recently,
and then Zeberm read us some coffee.
Recently, I was offered the opportunity to receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom, Flex, which I was flattered by out of respect for what the honor represents and admiration for prior recipients. Subsequently, the tragic events of last week occurred, and the decision has been made not to move forward with the award. Worth mentioning, he's a 2 space after the period guy, so another mark against him. Above all, I am an American citizen with great reverence for our nation's values, freedom, and democracy. I know I also represent my family and the New England Patriots team. One of the most rewarding things in my professional career took place in 2020 when, through the great leadership within our team, conversations about social justice, equality, and human rights moved to the forefront and became actions. What does that mean? Continuing,
how much longer we got? We got a football
continuing
game
those efforts while remaining true to the people, team, and country I love outweigh the benefits of any individual award. So Bill Belichick has solved racism, and he is not going to go to the White House.
I guess I should probably give another note, Zach, before you get into,
before
this is our first time.
Brought to you by,
this is our first time reading, especially it's a new sponsor. I think, Marissa, is that the right read by me that we should maybe leave a little space there? Okay. I don't need them to keep quoting their accomplishments.
Didn't see this coming the whole time when he was writing letters to Trump 4 years ago. Give me a break.
This goes back to our Howie Roseman discussion. I don't need them to keep quoting their accomplishments. I mean, even when Lurie answered Bo's question at the end, he's like, a coach should look at how many division titles have you won? I'm like,
I think he said we've won a quarter of the division titles during my time.
Yeah.
You play in a 4-team division. That's like,
I think he said
average.
I thought he said they got to the championship game a certain amount of, wasn't that what it was? I thought that's what it was. I don't know. We would have to go back and listen. But I'm just like, you don't need to keep telling me about these sort of, average, mediocre accomplishments. And then after these ad reads, I think we got to talk about, we probably should have gotten to this earlier, the Deuce Staley. Yep. So, Zach, go ahead.
Yes. So this episode is brought to you by Four Sigmatic, a wellness company that is well known for its delicious mushroom coffee. Four Sigmatic's coffee is real, organic, fair trade, single origin Arabica coffee. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Arabica coffee. I am still learning coffee. So Arabica coffee with lion's mane mushroom for productivity and shaga mushroom. Is that correct? Chaga or shaga mushroom for immune support. It's very impressive here. It came in the mailbox late last week. I didn't quite know what it was. And I'm very interested in trying this out because All Four Sigmatic products are organic, vegan, and gluten-free. That means Marissa can enjoy them. Plus, every single batch is third-party lab tested to ensure its purity and safety, so you know you're getting the highest quality coffee and mushrooms possible. What better combination than that? Now, you're probably thinking, does this coffee taste like mushrooms? I was actually thinking that when it came, but I can guarantee it tastes just like the coffee you love. It brews dark and nutty and tastes incredible. Over 20,000 five-star reviews. I mean, that's 20,000 people logged on and gave it 5 stars. And best of all, Four Sigmatic.
Or one person 20,000 times.
Or that, but I think it was more 20,000 satisfied customers. Four Sigmatic backs their products with a 100% money-back guarantee. Love every sip or get your money back. You can't beat that. We've worked out an exclusive offer with Four Sigmatic on their best-selling mushroom coffee, but this is just for Birds with Friends listeners. Get up to 40% off free shipping on mushroom coffee bundles. To claim this deal, you must go to foursigmatic.com/ I am sorry here.
Slash I am sorry here.
I will get it. Is it /birds?
What does it not say?
It's probably my fault for not sending that. This is
no
on
problem.
me.
No problem here. But I will get you that. You can get up to 40% off and free shipping on mushroom coffee bundles. To claim this deal, you must go to foursigmatic.com/birds. This offer is only for Birds with Friends listeners and is not available on their regular website. You'll save up to 40% and get free shipping. So go right now to foursigmatic.com/birds and fuel your productivity and creativity with some delicious mushroom coffee.
Now, Zach, are these magic mushrooms?
Wait, is it birds? I just want to make sure we
It's
get
birds.
the promo code.
Yes,
okay, great.
it's
Yeah.
birds.
So that's foursigmatic.com/birds.
Now, Zach, are these magic mushrooms? Or
what I can tell you about these mushrooms is that they are organic, vegan, and gluten-free.
So the only way to find out if they're magic mushrooms is to go to foursigmatic.com/birds.
I can tell you that I told my sister that this is a new sponsor, and she was very, very excited. She said she's heard about these on some of the podcasts she listens to, and I might be going to using this little URL discount to get a little birthday present later this month. Okay, maybe I know what I'll package that with. A little magic spoon. You know, we love a little magic spoon here at Birds with Friends. This episode is brought to you by Magic Spoon. Hopefully, you know by now what Magic Spoon is. You're not a kid anymore. You can't be eating all those sugary cereals. You know, it's unhealthy for you. You can't be having all that. You're growing up. Your metabolism has slowed down. Well, you can still have cereal. That's the beautiful thing about Magic Spoon. 0 sugar, 11 grams of protein, and only 3 net grams of carbs in each serving. So many of you have asked, and now you can finally build your very own custom variety box. I love this. I love when a company adapts and gives you exactly what you want. You can choose from the best-selling cocoa, fruity, frosted, and blueberry flavors, plus brand new flavors, including peanut butter and cinnamon. It tastes amazing. Honestly, too good to be true. Keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, low-carb, and GMO-free. If you're looking for one to start with, I suggest going with the fruity. That was my favorite from the initial variety pack. Here's what you do. You go to magicspoon.com/birds, grab a variety pack, try it today, and be sure to use our promo code BIRDS at checkout to save $5 off your order. Magic Spoon is so confident in their product. It's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they will refund your money, no questions asked. That's magicspoon.com/birds. Use the code BIRDS to save $5 off. We thank Magic Spoon for sponsoring this podcast.
Okay, before we get to Deuce, because I think we want to maybe talk about the candidates at the end, let me ask you this, Sheil, Mr. National. Compare this job opening to the other job openings. Let's say you are the prize of the market. You are the best candidate out there, or at least you've got a couple.
Give me a
options.
one by one. I'll give you
I'll
give you like 15 seconds on each.
Okay, so I think this one is the best opening there is. Would you rather have the Eagles job or the Chargers job?
I would rather have the Chargers job. You have a franchise quarterback. You have a GM in place who's actually made some, done some good stuff in the draft. I don't know that he's elite in terms of roster building. I feel like you can actually really compete to go far in the playoffs over the next 2 to 3 years. If you just build around that passing game, invest in the offensive line, I would rather have the Chargers job.
Okay. Next up, would you rather have the Eagles job, or let's say that you are an odious head coach with a wife with very, very troubling politics? Would you rather have the Eagles job or the Jacksonville Jaguars job?
I have like no idea what you're.
I know who he's talking about.
Let's say
He's referring to the front runner for.
Let's say you've been an apologist for domestic abusers on your staff and had,
Okay, but let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
So for these jobs, if they have a GM opening, am I being hired before the GM?
Great question.
Yeah, good question.
I think you would have to say yes, because that's going to be an advantage.
Most likely.
Yeah, you're getting offered this job right now, so it's what's in place right now.
I would rather have the Jaguars job. I've got cap space. I've got the top pick in the draft. I've got more draft capital from other trades that I've made. I'm loaded. I don't know what it is, 5 picks in the top 50. The bar there is so low. If you win 7 games, you're a hero after what they've been over the last decade. I'm getting Trevor Lawrence with my pick. And, I get to pick my own GM. So we're going to be tied at the hip. We're going to build a good culture. We're going to know that if one of us wins, we both wins. If one of us fails, we both fail.
Have you considered the hospitals?
I think Florida has 5 hospitals.
A lot of they're too spread out in Jacksonville. Okay, those ones.
I think that's
the most underrated
I understand how that came off, and I
think it was
get
fine.
that.
It was totally fine. It's easy. The hospitals was funny. It's easy.
So you know how like Jeffrey has those Jaquiz Rogers examples. Well, there have been a few coaches in the past who have kids who require certain medical care, and they need to be near very good children's hospitals, right? And that's been described as like an asset for a particular job. I don't know if that was fresh on his mind, but if you're a father to a kid who's in, who needs to be at a children's hospital, Philadelphia has outstanding children's hospitals. So that might have been an example that was just like randomly on Doug's mind, but I know for a fact that has come up in a very particular case.
Okay. Now the rest of these, I think they are legitimate conversations. I think they are toss-ups. Would you rather have the Eagles job, or would you rather have the New York Jets job, go work for Joe Douglas, and you've got the number 2 overall pick?
I think I would rather have the New York Jets job. Again, that is a very low bar. If you make the playoffs with the Jets, like a year or two, I mean, you're like automatically the best head coach of like the last 30 years there. And it's a tear it down rebuild. There's not a pressure to win in 2021. I don't know if Joe Douglas is a great GM. What I have heard about Joe Douglas is that he is a good person to work with / work for. Would you agree with that? Sort of the people skills, that's considered a strength, correct?
Yep, absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
So he seems like he would be a good person to work with. I'm getting, we have options with the number 2 pick. I would rather have the Jets job.
One thing,
although the ownership there,
bad, and
tough.
A much inferior podcast that covers the Jets as opposed to the Eagles.
Well, actually, I'm actually going to potentially ask one of you to join my Jets podcast tomorrow and discuss Doug Pederson, because there's a lot of talk about
I'm happy to do it and just heal it up and say, I can't believe I'm wasting my time on this jabroni podcast.
I am happy to do it, but I don't think I'd provide the entertainment value of both. So
okay.
That one's a toss-up because I don't know. Their owner does suck.
I think the rest of these are sort of toss-ups.
Okay.
Now,
what else?
One of them shouldn't be a toss-up because they have an outstanding quarterback, and that is the Houston Texans. But what they don't have is draft pick equity, and what they also have is one of the most bizarre front office setups going today with the Reverend Jackie.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's a toss-up. I think the Eagles are a better. I mean, I cannot. That would be, aside from Washington, that would be the worst. And that's
even with Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, because Deshaun Watson hates them, and he doesn't. Who knows what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson? I mean,
really,
if
you divorced Deshaun Watson, if we really think that he's going to get traded and he's that unhappy, then yeah, this is the worst job going.
Even that might be a Doug Pederson destination.
Maybe. Yeah. No, I would not want to go there.
Okay, 2 left. You've got the Atlanta Falcons. Arthur Blank, who has been patient with head coaches before. They haven't hired a general manager yet. Not a great roster, but I think they do have some salary cap flexibility. And, you get to play in the dirty.
I do like the ATL. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, but their facility is like 45 minutes away.
I've been to that facility. It is a hike. Although I think they're moving. I think they are moving the facility closer to Atlanta.
Oh, really? They're moving from Flowery Branch?
Yes, okay. I believe
because that's the thing. Like where you live, and that's a hike.
A brown guy in the Georgia woods might not be my first. My first preference there. So I would need a little clarification on where the practice.
And
you've
got.
I want to be in the city. I want to be in the city of Atlanta. I don't want to go anywhere else. With all due respect, I'm sure they have fine.
And of course, a very annoying fan base who doesn't understand how to take a joke on Twitter.
Well, they've got a great young wide receiver. I won't say young.
I wouldn't say young.
They've got a great wide receiver in Calvin Ridley, who I could just
an aging receiver who's never had a winning season.
I could
can't
just
win with that
the
guy.
Dirt on you, and we could just rip you together. That would have some appeal to it.
I mean, you do have the only receiver in the league who's told Bo Wolf "F you" on Twitter.
All right. Well, there you go.
All of a sudden,
I'll take Atlanta.
all of a sudden, a very attractive job. Last one.
8:07. Come on.
Last one. The Detroit Lions, who have a decision with Matt Stafford. Another very bad roster. But I mean, getting to follow Matt Patricia, talk about low standards for what you can do to exceed in that job.
Yeah, I think that's another one that's sort of like the Jets or the Jaguars, where the bar is very low. If you're making the playoffs a couple times, that's going to be good. You've got an asset in Matthew Stafford. You can keep him. You can trade him. There's no GM in place. So reluctantly, it's tough for me to say, but I don't know. I might view that as a better option than the Eagles.
I think there is something to be said for the stuff that Lurie was talking about in terms of facilities, commitment from the ownership to do things that it will take to win. I think those things are true, but I think what he doesn't recognize is the Roseman variable. Who wants to come in right now and work with a guy who, by all accounts, has interfered and been meddlesome in coaching decisions each of the last 2 times he's had a coach, and both relationships have gone sour.
Fair question.
He mentioned the practice facilities.
I was about to say the facilities thing with the Eagles is very overstated, by the way.
Yeah,
because it was a big thing like back when they built the NovaCare complex, which I believe was 2001. It was 2001, 2000. Yeah, it was the year before the link opened, right? And they've made some renovations to it, but I can tell you, Chip Kelly was not particularly enthused.
It was over for him.
Chip was coming from Oregon, which their facilities are palatial. Their indoor facility is amazing, and he walks into the Eagles indoor facility. It's not even 100 yards, and it's like, So when it rains and snows, you have to practice in a 60-yard field, or an 80-yard field where they can't punt the ball. But no, I think what has merit is,
I think it's 60.
60 and then the end zones. 60 and then the end zone. So 80 if you, but 60-yard field. And then but Jeffrey Lurie does have a reputation for being a supportive owner who pays his coaches well, right? Like they've traditionally that certainly should matter, right? And now, as far as the success that they've had, a lot of it was Andy Reid, right? But they did a good job finding Andy Reid. Although I will say, every coach that Jeffrey Lurie has fired has gotten hired as a head coach in the same cycle, which is a rare thing to achieve. But if you think about it, Chip Kelly, Jeffrey Lurie, Chip Kelly, Andy Reid, Ray Rhodes, and Rich Kotite all got jobs in the same cycle. Now, he inherited Rich Kotite, but the coaches that he's hired were all thought of well enough around the league that they were unemployed for a matter of weeks or days.
Yes, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Robin in the chat wants to know if you can rank the 32 NFL cities by hospitals.
I mean, I say this earnestly. I hope that it never
related
comes
to
to
our
a point.
sponsor.
I hope it never comes to a point where I know the answer to that. Right? Like,
okay,
yeah.
That's a very good answer.
Yeah, but I could not, fortunately. But I like I said that if there are people who their life depends on being around a certain hospital, and so if you're uprooting your family, then you need to know that.
It's Green Bay number one, and everybody else is playing for second.
I don't know if that's why a coach would come to your team. Like I don't know if
that's a box to check.
Put that in my sales pitch, but yeah.
Can I tell you what was actually the funniest moment of this press conference?
Sure.
What's that?
It was when Jeffrey Lurie basically said, he tries to look beyond wins and losses and always wants to make sure that he's, holding everyone accountable and looking at what's actually happening. And he goes, after the Super Bowl, after the Super Bowl, I went up to Jim Schwartz and told him the defense played horrible.
Yes, exactly.
I was like, what?
Yeah, Jim must have loved that, right?
Yeah. Can you imagine Jim's reaction?
God, I wish that was in the book.
Well, Les Bowen asked the question, and after Jeffrey Lurie said that, Les tried to get in. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd love that.
He's like, I'm sure Jim appreciated that. I mean, they had like the number 4 ranked defense that year. The defense is like carrying them in the beginning of the playoffs. They win the Super Bowl. Jim Schwartz is like popping champagne. He goes in for the hug to Jeffrey, and Jeffrey's like, you guys suck.
He had the cigar in his mouth. Yeah.
That was amazing. That was a very underrated
moment. You're right.
All right. Do you want to quickly go through candidates, or you are?
I mean, I don't. I voiced my. You didn't get Zach's vote there, so it comes down to Zach.
You're the deciding vote. If we don't do the candidate draft tonight, that means we have to do a podcast tomorrow.
No, that's not true.
Search is not
because then
true
the interview, we're going to get reported interviews.
How many people do you think they're going to interview tomorrow?
Well, reports they plan to interview so and so. I want to get out ahead of it. I want to know how well
you know this is who they're hiring. They're going to interview
Jeffrey.
I'm going to get on my soapbox here, okay? Which still won't make me.
You better be ripping Bo right here.
No, but and we mentioned this in the pod a few weeks ago that like you shouldn't hire a coach based on the resume and based on it's like so much of it is the in-person interaction. It wouldn't be like it would be hypocritical for me to say they should hire person X.
I'm not saying who you think they should hire. I would think saying
who
you think they will hire. This is not
all right. Well, that's a different game. I'd be more interested in that game. But
yeah, I want to know how well you. It's like the roster prediction. How well do you know how they think?
Yeah, but we don't need to do it tonight, right? I mean,
I'm
happy.
I think we do. All right.
I think we do.
Okay. All right, Bo's in charge. He's the host. But.
I know, really. Bo, have you ever been like the boss of anybody?
I feel like I am very forgiving for pushback to suggestions, but this one I feel like we need to get out ahead of it before they have.
I mean, really, Marissa, you should see this text thread. He just says what we're doing, like Zach and I don't expect.
Be prepared.
Like it's his show, And this is like you're not the boss.
If
you were actually the boss, I mean, really, what would you be like? That would be a nightmare. All right.
Yeah, I'm not prepared.
Let's go, so you don't whine. Go ahead.
All right. We'll do 4 each. I'll go first.
God forbid we wait 48 hours. They will have already hired.
I mean, I did not prepare for this here. But
yeah,
this is like every one of our games where
Zach,
I'm not prepared for.
You should be prepared. We went through and wrote up 52 candidates, which you can
we
read
split it, you and I. But yeah, no, I know the names. Yeah.
So Shields the one that had information.
I think we should quiz Zach and see if he knows every single one that you wrote on.
That'd be a good one.
I do know that.
All right, Marissa, why don't you decide the order?
Who goes first?
Yeah.
Marissa's like, just end this freaking podcast so I can get
okay.
You think Marissa's tired? What could Marissa possibly be tired from?
In the chat, everybody's saying like Marissa has no interest in this episode.
I'm enjoying all of this. All of this.
She had good late last night. Yes.
Should we talk
about let's go. Bo first.
Okay.
Zach second, Shield third. Snake.
Okay.
Unbelievable. Wow.
That's just like our playoff draft.
I'm going to go Brian Dable, number 1. I don't think it's the best hire.
The number 1 pick of who they're going to hire, you think is Brian Dable? Wow.
I don't think it's not what they should, but
Okay.
I thought the mention of Deuce today was a little bit too box checky.
Yeah, we should. I think we should say what he said.
Yeah,
Well, let's say it when we get to him. I thought that would be the first pick.
I thought it was a little too box checky, and the thing that Jeffrey Lurie said about the best path to success in the NFL is having an elite offense. I think they're going to look for an offensive play caller, even though that's not necessarily the best way to go about that. And Brian Daboll is a Bob Lamont client, so that's why I go him number 1.
I will go Lincoln Riley, number 2. I don't know if they'll get him, but I know that's
the juice.
That's someone who Howie is said to have a good relationship with.
That's because they don't know each other very well.
And Lincoln, I know we can fall for the
that is true though. Wasn't that said about him and Chip Kelly back in the before they worked together?
Yeah,
I think it was.
Yeah. But I think that was overstated even then. But I know there's that comparison to Chip Kelly going for the hot college offense guy who has not spent a day in the NFL. My understanding is their personalities are considerably different. Their age is obviously different. And if Lincoln Riley likes Jalen Hurts is on the roster already. So, but I would say Lincoln Riley would be the name.
I would say Jalen Hurts should have no. I know I'm not saying
you're
saying this. Yeah, no, but I would say generally speaking, Jalen Hurts should have no impact on who you're hiring.
No, I don't think they would hire him because of Hurts. I think maybe Riley, if Riley liked Hurts, he might look at that depth chart and not think the same thing that Chip might have thought in 2013.
I feel like I'm getting a steal here with this snakes to me. Yeah. I don't think the Deuce thing was lip service. I mean,
I don't think so either.
Look at all the things we've put out there.
Yeah.
They need somebody who's going to be okay working with Howie Roseman. What do they like the most about Doug Pederson is that he's open to the analytics. He doesn't need to have a say in personnel. He's open to suggestions for how to fill out your coaching staff. Like the same way that Jeffrey Lurie might like Howie Roseman because Howie Roseman values his input is the same way they might want a coach who is not going to shoo them away and say, I've got this under control and throw me out of the building. And given their cap space, given the things they like about Doug, the emotional intelligence, the leadership, the locker room, all those different types of things, I think Deuce Staley is the favorite to be the Eagles' next head coach.
Certainly has the leader of men box checked.
Yeah, I don't know.
Malcolm Jenkins gave him the shout out. This is what Jeffrey said because now the transcript is out.
Okay.
I would expect Deuce Staley to be a candidate. He's a great representative of the Eagles and knows our values. I would expect him to be part of the search as well, which is interesting. But great question because and this is about hiring a minority because I've never hesitated in this area. Obviously, I've hired an African-American as a head coach and proud of it because he was the right man for the job at the time. There's plenty of possible candidates in this area. I mean,
so
let's not pat yourself on the back for hiring.
What year was
So that was 1995.
One
African-American.
Marissa wasn't born the last time. Marissa wasn't born the last time.
I was one.
Oh my God.
I was born in 94.
and since then, do you know how many? So Ray Rhodes was fired in the 1998 season. Okay. Or I'm sorry, after the 1998 season. Since then, and do you know how many coordinators they have had, full-time coordinators, who are minority candidates? Who are minority coordinators?
Interim Todd Bowles?
Well, and Juan Castillo.
Okay.
Right.
Wow.
And that's
it.
That's it during that time.
That is terrible.
Yeah.
Wow.
And by the way, in their last coaching search, now maybe there were, perhaps they had interviews that were quiet, but they interviewed Deuce Staley on the Saturday before the season finale. Right? They fired Chip on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and then they interviewed Deuce, who was in the building, on a Saturday, and that was the only publicly known minority candidate that they interviewed. Wow. So I don't want to say it's disrespectful to Deuce to him as a coach and as a leader to say he was like the Rooney Rule candidate then. but because he was worthy of being interviewed on his own merit.
Right.
But they did not, for Jeffrey saying it's something he's always been out in front of. At least in 2016, that was not something they were out in front of.
And in 2013, I believe the only person they interviewed was the Falcons special teams coordinator.
Keith Armstrong. Yeah, no, I believe they interviewed Lovie Smith as well.
Mm. Oh, and I think they had a dalliance with Kevin Sumlin. Yeah. So, okay.
I can say one candidate when you're talking about minority candidates who I know is held in very high esteem around the league and perhaps in Philadelphia is David Shaw, but he's shown no interest thus far in leaving his alma mater.
My sister just texted me, "Oh my God, I can't believe Marissa is the same age as us. She's a twin. She seems much more mature."
No.
Much more mature than Bo.
Messy and all over the place my apartment is right now. So.
All right.
I don't know.
So I think I hit the jackpot here. I mean, I'm going to go with Deuce, and then on the snake, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's the obvious one, but the guy who gets thrown out there by all the media, but it feels like it should be for good reason. And I know they would just be going back. They would just be going back to the same tree, but I'll go with Eric Bieniemy.
Oh,
okay, that's a good snake right there, right? You got the top offensive coordinator and the top internal candidate.
I would I would sign me up. It seems insane to me that he's not a head coach already. So
the 3-4 pick is a good slot there.
How many rounds are we doing in this nonsense?
Four rounds.
I want to get out of here. What?
All right, then I'm up
rounds.
here, and I will go. I guess I got to go Arthur Smith, right?
Take a boy. The man that was born on third base and thought he invented play action.
I don't think he thinks he invented play action. I just think he's someone who's worked hard to put himself in a position that teams are interested in him as a head coach.
Oh man, that would be a fun. Like I was talking about the Doug introductory press conference. That would be a fun one. What the hell happened to you guys in that playoff game against the Ravens? He couldn't do anything. But anyway.
Okay, I will go with. First, I'm going to go with Byron Leftwich. And
What, do you want a pat on the back for that or something? You were waiting for like a dramatic reaction.
I'm just trying to. I think he's got a little juice. I don't love the Brady connection, but what are you going to do about that?
What do you mean the Brady connection? The guy who's been an offensive. What do you want him to do? Quit the team because they signed?
Can't you just let me get a shot in?
I had an odd encounter with Byron Leftwich.
Let's hear it to me.
I probably shouldn't have brought that up because we are being recorded. It was
the
problem with this podcast sometimes is we forget that we have a microphone in front of us.
But you got to tell us.
I was covering the I was doing a week in Pittsburgh. I was at the Star Ledger at the time, and the Jets were playing the Steelers in the AFC Championship game, and so the divisional round, they played the Patriots. I was in New England. And the next week I was in Pittsburgh, and I walked into the locker room and he said it in like a joking way, but he said, "You need to be this tall in order to come in here."
It was a
joke.
Wow.
Byron.
Oh, get him out of here. Listen.
Oh,
no.
Watching.
It was just a joke. I shouldn't have brought that up on the podcast. It was like I was interviewing.
Wow, you're always on the record, Byron. That's something's got to learn in Philadelphia.
It wasn't anything I was like offended by. It was but it was like I had like a witty comeback in my mind that I didn't want to say because I didn't want to be like the guy firing.
Which was what your release has to be, just quick enough to follow this question because it's such a long release.
No, it wasn't that. It was something else. But something
about the drama, like fair. Not all of us have to fake an injury.
Like right, Rich. Wrong.
No, but he's a very good offensive coordinator. I've heard great things about him, and he was very respected as a backup quarterback in Pittsburgh.
Okay, and then I will go with who I think would be a troubling hire, a bad hire. But if you are of the opinion that Jeffrey Lurie is chasing the next shiny offensive object, I'm going to go Joe Brady.
Okay. I will go. I'll go with the second a second chance candidate here, the other side of the ball.
Ooh, Zachy, give me one more chance.
And I will go with Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles is
Todd Bowles from last year.
He's someone who when you talk about, can perhaps get along with Howie. I know he's well regarded in the building. Joe Banner, who's someone who Lurie and Howie often think similar to, has often talked up Todd Bowles. He had one winning season in 4 years with the Jets, but he also had a bad roster and a bad quarterback situation. And in that case, checks off the leadership box when Jeffrey was answering Shields' question today, and he really emphasized leadership, checks off that leadership box and said there's different ways to skin a cat in terms of offensive minds. Maybe you have an offensive coordinator that you really like who you can package with Todd Bowles.
Okay. For the final pick here, I mean, Joe Brady would really surprise me, Bo. What is he? 30 years old? Is that
31? Yeah, I don't want
31 years old. I think it's
I think that'd be a bad hire.
I feel like
you have two picks, but
I think Lincoln Riley is the shiny new toy category.
Yeah,
that's the guy who would be, like whoever mentioned, closest to trying to find their process for Chip Kelly, but maybe has the intangibles that you're looking for. Oh, I have two picks here. Okay, I was only ready for one of them. All right, I will go with Ryan Day. How about that? If they're going in the, I'm not telling you who I'm gonna hire. Okay,
that's a
Mr.
good.
Joe
Just
Brady.
got on me for that.
So no, I'm not. I wasn't. I would be more surprised. I think Ryan Day is more likely the head coach than Joe Brady.
You think it's more likely they hire Chip Kelly's underling than Joe Brady?
Yeah, he's been in the building. They might have liked him at the time. They have more familiarity with him.
You think Ryan Day
is going to
leave? You think Ryan Day is going to leave a cushy job to work with the guy who stabbed his mentor in the back?
So to
mentor, I mean, that seems a little strong.
No,
they're from the same hometown and went to the same high school.
Same hometown, same high school.
Gave him his
Ryan
foot
Day
in the door.
played for Chip in college.
Please, he knows Chip's a little off. Come on.
Chip gave Ryan Day his first NFL job.
You just want to call me on everything I say. And this one time, Zach was here to back me up.
Yeah, Zach, can you mute Zach?
And Ryan Day's a good sport. He had the displeasure one time,
like Ryan Minute,
of his first month with the team. All right, like a month after he was hired, he's flying to the combine, and he's on like the 10 a.m. flight to Indianapolis, and he gets there a little early. He's sitting at the gate, and it just so happens that there's a beat writer who's at the gate too, who views this as like the opportunity to go up and introduce himself to Ryan Day, and he was as nice as could be about it. You know how like you want airport interactions sometimes to be just a quick hello and move on. Mm. Yeah, this reporter was like talking about Manchester, New Hampshire. Name dropping.
Wait, are you this reporter?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. But then I wasn't sure as you were. You started making fun of the reporter.
Yeah. No, I'm making fun of myself here. I'm making fun of myself.
I feel like you look a little bit like Ryan Day.
Yeah, I could see that. He could be
too.
part of the Berman. Yeah, he could hop on a Zoom right now.
Our Berman.
So,
I think he's a little busy right now. But
he is.
Maybe
they're scoring that game yet?
I mean,
there's about to be.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Actually, no, there might be a score. Okay. Yep.
All right.
Tutties.
Okay. All right. So can I? So can I take? Can I not do Ryan Day now after that?
No. I'll say this too. Joe Banner said last year. Joe Banner said on a podcast last year. I'm sorry. I don't have the podcast name offhand, but I remember listening to it. That the two coaches he would identify if he was hiring a coach. The two coaches he would call are Matt Rule and Ryan Day.
Somebody just is a comment. Ryan Day is the Pat Shurmur of Chip Kelly's, which I think is pretty good.
Okay. All right. I'll stick with Ryan Day. I will say Ryan Day and Marissa, you want to chime in here with my last pick? No, you just want us to end. All right, let's see. I will go with. All right, let's go with the David Shaw. Maybe they do it.
Okay.
You just mentioned him, right? Maybe they could get a David Shaw, but get one of these play callers that they like from the interview process last year, something like that. I don't know. That's what I go with.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's an interesting one. Here, I'm trying to think of one off the.
Trying to think of like committing to the rebuild, like.
What is that?
Like a Gary, like I think they'd love to hire like Gary Kubiak, but that's like a let's go win next year type of hire.
Well, you actually, jokes aside, you probably need the good hospitals he's had all kinds of health issues.
It's true.
So maybe that's who he was talking to.
Let's
that was
see
like
here.
a decade ago that Gary Kubiak, remember that episode?
Well, he just
on the
stepped down
sideline?
again. Yeah.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
remember all right, let's go.
There's
Sorry,
one
I
guy
thought I
who's
was
been
the last
there's
one.
one guy who's been hired who we have not mentioned, and I will not draft, but I'm surprised that Zach is not going to hop on him here.
Who we've talked about?
No, we haven't talked about him, but he's been mentioned already as a potential candidate.
I don't think they're hiring him. You're talking about Mike Kafka?
Yeah.
They're not hiring Mike Kafka. I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that. I'd be surprised if.
Could you imagine? It's like the nesting doll of Doug Pederson's. They just take the next guy, and then after that they're gonna hire Clayton Thorson.
Yeah, that
like,
would.
what the hell, guys?
or maybe they do hire Mike Kafka. I don't know that to be the case. I'm trying to think of like who was like Andy Reid back then, and I don't know the answer to that. I guess I'll go with Greg Roman. I don't think they're going to hire Greg Roman, but maybe the creative offensive mind, Atlantic City guy. He would like to be in the area, I imagine. So,
He was an Eagles fan, girl. He was sitting in the 700 level when he was growing up.
Exactly. So you can sell that. You can sell that.
I would be surprised.
I would too. I don't think they're hiring Greg Roman, but
okay.
I guess I will go with Jim Caldwell.
Really? You're embracing a rebuild and you're hiring what was he, 60-something years old?
I don't love it. Who am I going to go with?
65 years old?
Who else am I going to take? Matt Campbell or like a defensive guy, Marvin Lewis?
Go with your boy Pep Hamilton.
I'd love to hire Dave Tobe, but
go with your boy Pep Hamilton.
Yeah,
Both thought he discovered Pep Hamilton today, by the way, Shield.
Give me more on this, please.
So we had a list of like 50 candidates, all right, and we split them up, and I did it, and I had the Pep Hamilton write up, and I think I put Pep Hamilton on the list, and I did the write up, and then Bo comes in, he's like, I added a few more, and he added Pep Hamilton to the list, and I'm like, we got Pep Hamilton twice.
I didn't read it all the way through. And Zach sends a very nice, but also like, what are you doing? Text like, just so you know, we already had Pep in there.
Yes.
Right.
But no, I
sorry, buddy.
But no, Bo's description was much more overstated than me. So.
All right. Yeah. All right. I don't know. Maybe I'll take Matt Campbell instead. Okay.
Wait, what's your pick? You stop trying. Then now you're going to cheat and say it both of them.
Caldwell. I took Caldwell.
Yeah.
I can't go back on it. I announced the pick. Touch move. All right. I know that we want to leave. Marissa, are we going to talk about how tired you are, or should we save that for another time?
I don't care.
Why don't we just let's save that for
Okay. All right. We'll be back tomorrow night, same time.
No, I will. I can tell you, I will not be.
How about every night till they hire a coach?
No. Doug Pederson said, or Jeffrey Lurie said they're taking their time.
I'm just kidding. Do you know I compiled a list of how many podcasts I've done since August 1st? Do you guys want to take an over-under guess?
Oh, God. You deserve a raise. Whatever it is, you deserve a raise.
Or all podcasts?
All podcasts. Since August 1st.
August 1st? What's this?
Since August
1st. It's like 160 something days.
I would guess 385.
Months, 20 weeks.
I was gonna go over, but Marissa gave a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, I think that was too high. Yeah,
I was like, wow.
What did Zach say?
I said 385, but I have no basis.
I would say 310.
309.
Okay, you guys are a little above. 242 podcasts and 110 briefs.
Oh my God, the briefs. Oh God.
Yes.
Well, if you count
So
the
that
briefs,
that averages to more than 1.5 shows a day, every single day.
Some of our podcasts should count as 2, though. By the way,
somebody give her a raise.
Yeah.
That's true.
I enjoy
now do the total hours.
And the loyal listeners. The loyal listeners. Yes. So.
All right. Bye.
Let's get out of here. Otherwise, I think Sheila's going to just drive over to my house and burn it down. So,
no. Because then there would be a chance that we would have to like interact even more. So I would not do that.
All right. For Sheila, Zach, and Marissa, I'm Bo. Thanks for listening. Shout out to Josh. And as always, we love you.